Good morning, Friendly Holiness Church. This is Pastor Richard Earl over here at Mountainside in Cole Township. And William has asked me to share some thoughts about loyalty, and I said I'd be glad to do that. Loyalty is important. It's important to me. It's important to us, especially in our friendships, I think, in our relationships. Certainly in our marriages and with our children, very important. But ultimately, the most important loyalty that we have is to God Himself. And if we're not loyal to God and to His truth, then we fail in our relationships. We fail everywhere. But as I was thinking about this, I was thinking it's not so much loyalty as it is. Loyalty isn't really a question until our loyalty is challenged, when we have to make a choice, and our loyalty is now divided. For example, we have two friends, and they are at odds with one another, and I have to make a choice between those two friends as to which one I'm going to side with. And generally what happens is we side with the one that we're closer to. In other words, our relationship becomes the arbiter of our loyalty and just our friendship, and because we like somebody better than the other person. And that's not really very healthy. And I think it comes from the fact that we don't want to challenge someone that we're friends with truth. Truth really should be the arbitrator. That should be the defining factor over whether or not we choose one friend over the other. Now, ultimately, we wish we never had to choose between people, but sometimes we do. And I think we need to pray that in those situations, we would not be arbitrary by just saying, well, I've known so-and-so longer, so I'm going to side with them. But rather, well, what's the truth here? And maybe I can help discover the truth, and then once I discover it, will I have the courage to actually confront my friend and say, well, I think you're wrong, and I think you need to apologize, or something like that. So that becomes, for me, I think for most of us, that becomes when loyalty is challenged is when loyalty really means something. I was thinking about the story of Jonathan, who had to make a choice between his own father, Saul, King Saul, and David, his best friend. And as we know, Jonathan and David, their souls were knit together, and they were really, really tight. And Jonathan at one point had to make a decision whether he was going to support his father, who, biblically we're supposed to honor our father, and his best friend, who was actually in the right. David hadn't done anything wrong and was being chased around by Saul, trying to kill him. And David ended up, or Jonathan rather, ended up siding with his best friend. Not because he was his best friend, but because he was right. The wonderful thing about Jonathan is at the same time he was able to remain loyal to his father. And he didn't severely violate anything in his relationship with his father. And I think in a godly, biblical way, he still honored him. They died together on the battlefield. They were still close, and they still loved each other. So I just think that's a terrific biblical example of what we're talking about, that it becomes a challenge when we have to make a decision between one or the other. And that's the real test of loyalty. Let truth be the arbitrator. Thank you. Have a wonderful morning.